My name is Jacob Bowers, and this is a tutorial on how to use the dollars and hours data and reports spreadsheet. To start things off, let's go ahead and rename our spreadsheet. I recommend doing that by the fiscal year. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and go to the master formulas do not edit sheet, and we're going to duplicate it. To duplicate it, two-finger click or right-hand click on duplicate. It'll take a little bit of time because there's a lot of data going through that. And once we see references show up in here, we can go ahead and double click and rename it with one of our class names. So I'm going to type in Ag1. And technically you would go across and actually do this for each of your classes. Up here where it says master formulas on the Ag1 sheet, we're going to go ahead and name that Ag1 as well, just to kind of avoid some confusion later on, especially if you want to print this data. Next up, what we need to do is go ahead and go find some records. Now I'm going to use this Jim Shorts record, and at the top of the web page, you can see that you actually have your URL. Every single Google document has its own unique code or ID, and usually that's with a D, then a backslash, and then everything after that is the beginning of the code, right up until the next backslash. So you're going to copy that, come back over to dollars and hours data and reports, and where it has the ID for the spreadsheet ID, you're going to just paste that in there. And I'm going to pretend that I went back to another student spreadsheet, copied the code, and then came back to student number 2 and entered it in. And a fast way of doing that is by having all of your students on Google Classroom and just uploading the dollars and hours as an actual assignment for them. And so that way it just automatically makes a copy. And you could even give students access to this document after you have everything made and have them paste their own ID in there to kind of save yourself a little bit of time. And that way they can actually see the data as well if you want them to see that. Next up, you can see that it's already pulled data from our student spreadsheets. It's auto-filled stuff for Jim Shorts. You can see all the data and also our agreements as well. Big thing that this is great for is to just automatically see, has the student actually been keeping up on their records? I'd recommend printing this in between each grading period so that way you can see progress and see if the students are actually updating their SAE records. This is just a fast check to be able to make sure that they've been doing that type of stuff and to make sure that they're actually filling out their SAE records. Next up, we want to go ahead and get our class data. You can see that we have a reference error here. To kind of fix that, we're going to highlight any of the rows that are not being used. So this is a 2-person class right now, and we're going to scroll all the way to the bottom. And then we're going to go ahead and delete these rows that are unused. You can see that still hasn't fixed our calculation error, but what that has done is it's highlighted all the rows that are unused. So each of these references that are showing up, what those are cells that we just deleted basically. So we deleted all those rows, and basically it can't calculate those because they don't exist. It makes it really easy to come up here, highlight those and hit delete, and then enter. And you can see that's auto-calculating all of our data for FFA hours. Then you're going to go ahead and grab this little square. Once you get that little plus sign, you can grab that and drag it over to net income and let go. And it's going to go ahead and start calculating all of our data for each of these rows. So this would be your class data is what's being calculated there. What's up next is we need to go to the totals sheet. Type in our class Ag1, so that way we know that's where this data is coming from. And then underneath FFA hours, hit equals. Come back to Ag1. Click on the data for FFA hours. Hit enter again, and you can see it's just bringing data over from that spreadsheet or from that particular sheet, and then you can drag everything over. Now, technically, you could do the same thing for each of your classes where you come over, type in Ag2, And then if you, let's just say that this was the Ag 2 sheet, you could hit the equal sign again, come over to Ag 2, click, hit enter, pull it over. And so now what you have is you have all of your class data side by side with each other, and you have data for the entire department as well. So that way you have a lump sum of what the total impact is of your of all your ag classes. You can see all their FFA hours, all service hours, and maybe if you wanted to, you could get a little competition going between the classes to see who can rack up the highest number of FFA hours, or who can be the most service oriented class, or who can have the most who can basically raise the most income or unpaid hours within a class. So again, I would go ahead and repeat all those steps for each of the classes that I have for that particular 2019 school year, or for the 2019 year. And then the last piece of data that we need to go over is the student information. This is really handy when getting ready for the roster time, or for uploading your FFA roster. So what we're going to do again is go over to each student's individual record book, and we're going to go ahead and highlight their individual code again and copy that. And then we're just going to go ahead and enter that right where it says spreadsheet ID. We're going to put in that ID quick. You can see here that it's actually calculated the name, the address, the city, state, zip, the phone number. It even has t-shirt size in here. And basically all this data is stuff that you need for the National FFA roster. So that way when it comes to roster time, you're not having to hunt kids down if they have their SAE records up to date, especially with all this information on their record books. It'll actually pull right into here for you. This has been a tutorial on the dollars and hours data and reports spreadsheet. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.